see, I've been living in Europe now for nearly 35 years. And I want to tell you some of the problems I had in the early years, say the first 5 years or so. People used to ask me, a lot of them, as the following question. There is so much poverty and famine in India. Why don't people eat cows? Because that would solve a lot of the problems in India. Now, of course, whether it does solve or not, leave that question aside. So I had to give an answer. And I tried many different answers, none of which should satisfy me. Let me give you an example. The first story was, which I told them, the people who asked me why Indians don't eat cow, I said, well, that's because we think that cows are our mothers. So if you drink mother's milk, then what you do is not eat a cow when it's dead or kill it for purposes of food. Of course, if you look in India, then it is untrue to say that we treat cows like our mothers. It's equally untrue when we are to say that we treat them with respect. Because when you're having food or when you're cutting vegetables and cows come, we throw stones at them, we beat them with sticks and make them run away. So hardly the kind of respect you would show to what should be a mother. Besides, today tractors are replacing cows. That was the second argument I had, which was that we don't kill cows and eat them because it's very important for agricultural economy that India is. How the argument doesn't work, because actually buffaloes are more important than cows in Indian agriculture. And besides, if we can replace old tractors, dump them and buy new tractors, why can't we do the same with cows? I mean, eat them and buy new cows. So that argument, unfortunately, didn't work. And there's, of course, a third reason. Well, we don't eat cows because, for the same reason that the Jews don't eat non-kosher food, or because, for example, that Muslims don't eat pork. Oh, it worked for some time. It looked satisfying. Until I began to read into Indian history and discovered old and ancient books which said, in fact, which gave the injunction to eat cow meat, slaughter cows, horses, and so on. So that argument also obviously is not very true. So like this, I was wondering what argument I could give and why is it Indians don't eat cow. Then around that time, a plane crashed in the Andes Mountains, and some people were trapped. And what they did was something extraordinary. The dead people were used as meat by the living in order to survive, and they did survive. When I read that, I was deeply shocked, because I asked myself, what would I do were I to have been crashed in a mountain in the same position these people were in? And I realized that I would not have eaten human meat, even if I had hunger, even if I was going to die. So why then did these Europeans who were crashed in the Andes Mountains eat the body of their fellow friends after they died? And then it struck me, something extraordinary struck me, that there have been situations like this in Europe and in Africa. For example, think of the great drought of Ethiopia about a decade or so ago, or the concentration camps that Hitler set up in which Jews were imprisoned. We haven't heard stories of cannibalism either in the concentration camps or in Ethiopia, whereas the people who were crashed in the Andes Mountains did. So what made them actually take to cannibalism? I realized that I could not eat it because I didn't see fellow human beings as food. And then I realized that the real reason why we Indians don't eat beef, or not all of us, some of us Indians don't eat beef, is because we don't see beef as food. In fact, that's the only reason. To give you an idea, imagine a father looking at his 2-year-old cute daughter, gives her a huge hug and a huge kiss, and says, "I'd like to eat you up." Now, why doesn't the father eat the child up? Why doesn't he say, "Oh, what a lovely thing it would be to take her little finger, put it between the 2 slices of bread and eat her up"? He doesn't think of it, and then recoil from the thought because it would be immoral. So when he says it, it is simply an expression which expresses an affection, but he doesn't see his own little daughter as food. So the real reason, in fact, why most of us in India do not eat beef has nothing to do with religious sanctions, which is what the Jews and the Muslims say about their own food habits. Not because of some huge technical argument about the fact that they're important for agriculture, and definitely not because you look at the cows as a mother. It's simply because we just don't see cow meat or beef as food. And this is something which most of us are brought up with. And so when somebody asks you from now on, why do Indians don't eat beef, give the following simple answer. Look, I don't see it as food. And there is no other reason necessary, no other justification necessary in order to say that Indians do not like beef, do not like to eat